Well, you could not ask for better conditions as we kick off the 5th year of this Coachella Valley Invitational from Indio, California, and the beautiful Empire Polo Club. 79 degrees and sunny as we kick off the first of 15 matches for you. The MLS over the next 2 weekends, and today to get things started, it is St. Louis City SC against Austin FC. First of 3 matches for both teams here at the 2026 CVI. So happy to have you along. Fans have traveled here from near and far, and we're ready to get this thing going in just a couple minutes. I'm Ben Wilson with you today, and there's a lot of storylines going on, even if it's not the full starting 11s that we'll see on opening day. For St. Louis City, we'll host Charlotte in a couple weekends, and for Austin, who are at home against Minnesota in 2 Saturdays' time. But still a lot of questions to be answered, and it will all start in mere moments. We'll bring you the starting 11s momentarily as the teams are just about set to walk out onto the pitch. Great crowds on hand today as we get you set. For St. Louis City, it has been several months of waiting for the unofficial debut. It's still the preseason, so it'll be officially a couple more weeks for Yoann Damet to make his long-awaited debut. Third head coach in team history, hired back on December the 16th, along with the new sporting director in Corey Ray. The City fans excited to see how that shapes up for a St. Louis team that has missed the postseason the last 2 years after that incredible Western Conference regular season title as an expansion club. Meanwhile, for Austin's second year for Nico Estevez after a 500 club a season ago, they did make the postseason, were bounced in round 1 by LAFC, and have brought in a bevy of newcomers here, about 8 new guys. We'll see several of them make their debuts today. As we run through our starting 11s for today, first for St. Louis City, we expect either the 3-4-3 or a 3-5-2 throughout the preseason under the new head man, the 35-year-old from Marseille in France, and Yoann Damet, and he'll go with the elder statesman, the man who is going to start on opening day for the 100th time in a St. Louis City shirt, and that is Roman Bürki, the Swiss international, 17th year pro. He is in goal. Along with him, we'll see a debut today for Dante Polvara, 5th-year pro, who had spent a lot of time in Scotland over the last 5 years with the Aberdeen club. It's Polvara in the back line. Timo Baumgartel back for his 2nd season wearing the St. Louis City shirts. And Thomas Totland, the Norwegian 3rd year with St. Louis City. Run through the rest of the starting 11. For now, though, we're set for this one to get underway. Is the whistle blown by Greg Dupka, and off we go. First of 15 matches over the next 2 weekends from this Empire Polo Club in Indio. And it's St. Louis City immediately onto the front foot. It's a number of debutants that we'll talk about throughout the broadcast today, but also some familiar faces for a St. Louis side that does have 21 total returners back from a club last year that is certainly looking to turn things around after they fired head coach Olaf Melberg mid-season, finished the year with an interim head coach, went to a new sporting director as well, and now the transition is here. So outside of that back 3, as we see this one sent forward toward the box and an offside going the other way. Chris Durkin, the 3rd-year man, he's back in the midfield as well. We will see another debut from Rafael Santos, the Brazilian. Had spent the last few years between Orlando City and Colorado, 82 career games in MLS. He's making his St. Louis debut today in the midfield, along with a couple others in that spot, including Daniel Edelman, just acquired from New York Red Bulls, the actual first acquisition made under the new sporting director, Corey Ray. He's in midfield as well, along with Hasiel Orozco in his 2nd year, mostly a reserve last season. There are some mainstays, though. Marcel Hartel, Songbin Jung, and Simon Betcher lead the front 3 for St. Louis City. You see Betcher, that number 11, giving early chase to Brad Stuver, the captain, who is back once again for Austin. This was one of the best defensive teams in MLS last season, having to do some early defending in their own 3rd. Tied for 9th, fewest goals allowed per game last year. The issue for Austin, though, was on offense. They really struggled to generate consistent looks in the final 3rd. They were the only MLS team who did not convert multiple penalties on the season, and that was really the downfall for the verde and black. But they're smartly in the white kits today with this warm temperatures as St. Louis City come forward with Betcher. Santos on that left wing, good low ball, and an early ball knocked out of play. We'll see a throw from St. Louis City. Austin expected to go between a 3-5-2 and a 3-3-1-3 throughout this preseason. Mentioned Stuver, second in the MLS last year, 128 saves as he watches his back line doing some far side defending. That is out, and our first corner coming. About 3 minutes into the contest. Songbin Jun acquired mid-season a year ago from Minnesota United, the sixth-year pro, 79 career MLS games. He wins that corner, and in it comes. First set piece of this preseason campaign, quickly headed away, though, by John Gallagher, who's been a mainstay for Austin FC. Danger not completely dealt with yet, and yet another corner coming up here. Hartel will set to take on the far side. Well, even though the previous sporting director, Lutz Pfannenstiel, is no longer in St. Louis, still a ton of German influence on this club. A bunch of guys with top-flight Bundesliga experience, including Hartel. Sets up Jung and is, again, dispossessed on that far side, leading to yet another City corner. It's been a strong start here for City, who had a pretty good preseason last year. Big shot deflected right at the top of the box, and that one goes straight over the goal of Brad Stuver. Out for Yudden. Yet another set piece, so a lot of good set piece practice early. That's really the goal for these coaches and staffs. You want to get a whole lot of different situations practiced on and all settled before opening day in 2 weeks' time. Hartel with yet another corner. Pretty good ball. That's skied first clear out to the edge of the box and then sent out Guillermo Biro. Back for his third season for Austin. So you look at Austin FC after that 500 mark last season. Good enough to just get into the playoffs, but a first round exit for Austin. Setting up with Biro, Brendan Hines-Ike, and Alexander Svatak in the back line. John Gallagher, we'll see a lot of him as a wing back, former MLS All-Star out of Notre Dame. He's one of 5 who are set to play in the midfield this year. Joseph Rosales, just acquired in a trade from Minnesota United, set to make his debut this season for the 8th-year pro. Along with Irvin Torres, who's an 18-year-old getting a shot today. Besard Sabovic and Danny Pereira, who's the former #1 overall pick for Austin back in their 2021 inaugural season. St. Louis with that eye pressing, win the ball forward. Simon Betcher taken down, and our first foul comes the way of Svatak. Should also mention the 2 at the top of the formation for Austin we've yet to really see on the ball today. And Jaden Nelson as well as CJ Fodre. So just settling in the first of 3 preseason matches here at the CBI for both teams. There's a midfield takeaway. And Pereira, one of 5 players left from that inaugural 21 team for Austin. Trying to set up a teammate on the far side, but poked out. And after St. Louis City had the bulk of possession here in our opening 5 minutes, finally Austin gets themselves involved, and a first set piece on a corner coming Austin's way. I'll see Joseph Rosales, 5 years with Minnesota United. A familiar face for a lot of MLS fans in a new place this year. The Honduran set to take the outswinger with that left foot. First time we'll see St. Louis on the defensive side, a team who really struggled on that end last year. 23rd out of the 30 MLS teams in goals allowed per game. So everybody's settled and we're ready to go. First corner for Austin. Pretty good ball, header down, and a big swing and a partial scuff there by Guilherme Biro. Guilherme had a possible chance for that to settle down. Really no wind to speak of, either perfect conditions today. And this one's taken away by St. Louis. This is why you have the preseason, looking to sync up those outlets between teammates. Chris Durkett and Simon Betcher not on the same page, but you'll see a lot of that over the next couple of weeks. It's interesting how each team that you have takes semi-different approaches. Some will play their full starting 11s for what they expect to be opening day and treat this, at least personnel-wise, like a regular season match. Other teams, as we get an offside down the far side, a little aggressive from Rosales, will want to integrate their new players as quickly as possible, get them some run. St. Louis City, who have a bunch of newcomers this year, 13 of them expected to contribute. Certainly trying to do that with Polvara and Santos, as well as Edelman making their debuts today in the preseason capacity. Back heel a little bit wide of the mark, just away from Hartel to keep it in play. It is John Gallagher doing the throwing for Austin FC. These teams actually met early last season. It was a 1-0 win for Austin a season ago. They got a goal in the first half from Mirto Usuni, who has been in the news. A whole lot of speculation about his future and potential rumors of transfers out of town. He is not in the starting 11 today. So neither team at necessarily full strength for what the perceived best 11s would be. Edouard Leuven not with the team either today for St. Louis City. They defend on that far side. Get a look at the youngster Hasiel Orozco, 21-year-old Mexican national who's in his second year with the club doing the defending, that number 99. And a throw coming for Austin. So we crossed the 10-minute mark here of our first of 4 matches today. It is a great setup here at the complex. We're in Indio, California. The Empire Polo Club have actually got 2 fields back-to-back. The view we're looking at, this is the far field, field 1, and then right behind us we'll have another match starting as well at the top of the hour. Great collection of fans, teams here, all part of what they call spring training for MLS. 5th year of this outstanding event. Throw in coming for Pereira, who elects to play it back. If there's one thing that is a constant, a consistent for Austin heading into the year, it is the defending in that back line. So steady last year. Helps when you have one of the best goalkeepers in the MLS between the sticks for you, and Brad Stuver, the 34-year-old. We'll be fascinated to see, though, throughout this preseason on how aggressive will Austin look from an attacking standpoint. What sort of creativity will they show when they get the ball into their opponent's halves? Haven't seen a lot of that so far. Been a relative 50-50 split. St. Louis City with the slight edge in possession out of our first 11-plus minutes. And played back to Orozco. City able to win a throw moving up the pitch. Thomas Totland, 11th year pro, 3rd year now with St. Louis City. Spent a couple years in the Swedish top flight. He's playing a little bit higher up the pitch for St. Louis, at least to start out, but they lose possession, and it's a brief chance to See what the newcomer Jaden Nelson can do. Ninth-year pro, and Nelson is through after a little give and go. Nelson into the box. Onto his left, and our first shot is on target. Easily saved by Berkey. Gallagher didn't get a ton on that. And after a pretty tame start to this match in the first 12 minutes, not unsurprising for a first preseason tilt, our first run of open play. That's the speed, though, Jaden Nelson provides. And given Austin's struggles to score goals last year, they had a stretch, Austin, where they went winless in 8 matches and scored only 4 combined goals in that stretch. We're able to get 4 draws out of it only because of the defense. Well, that was one reason why they brought in Nelson, the 23-year-old from Ontario, Canada. Was with Vancouver, just traded for him for a first-round draft pick in 2026. A little shove out of frustration, that ball out of the reach of Simon Betcher. Take a look at our first save of the day. See John Gallagher off this setup here from Nelson. That's a really good job by Nelson to set it up. Roman Berkey, though, not really challenged to make the stop. 2 vets in goal for each respective team. Berkey, the 35-year-old, known, probably the most well-known player on the St. Louis City roster, having spent over a half-decade at German giant Borussia Dortmund. We won a couple of trophies, both in the Deutscher Pokal, the League Cup there. Push in the back, and a foul on Nelson. Have to say, though, Jaden Nelson, he is playing with some pep in his step. Excited to make his Austin FC debut. Has been all over the place. We were not expecting to see Facundo Torres, who was just signed. That was a big offseason signing for Austin FC. It's Hartel. Low ball into the edge of the box. St. Louis FC got a handful of corners in our first opening minutes. Not much since then. And there's Nelson once again. Able to pick it off the boot of Hartel, but does give up a corner in the process. So 4th corner already in our first quarter hour for St. Louis City. St. Louis City, a team who played well here last season, a win and a couple draws, not give up more than a goal in either of their 3 preseason matches. Got the season off on a really positive note. 2 wins, 2 draws from their first 4, but then a 0-win, 3-draw, 9-loss stretch over the next 12 that cost their head coach Olaf Melberg his job. Down the left side comes Santos. A nice ball, just out of the reach, though, of Durkin, as that was defended well into the interior by Austin. We've seen a lot so far from Austin FC of John Gallagher, but there it was his teammate CJ Faudre working back a little bit. High line shown from St. Louis City. There's a chance into the box, and City have the opener. Out of nothing, it comes right to Simon Betcher, and he opens his account in this 2026 Coachella Valley Invitational. An aggressive high line in defending for St. Louis City. They win the ball back, and Betcher in his 3rd season for St. Louis City, 12 career goals in MLS to his name. Fires one past Brad Stuver 16 minutes in. And through the first quarter hour, St. Louis City have certainly been the more aggressive side with more of the possession here. That was a pretty simple finish, end of the day for Betcher. But that normally rock-solid Austin defense, that was something you hardly would have seen last year, and here they give it away again. Hartel pressing forward, chips one toward the box. Jung with a ball that caroms right off his chest. And out of play for a goal kick, but asking a lot of questions here out of John Gallagher in that Austin FC defense. Now, goal scoring, or at least creating chances, was not necessarily the issue for St. Louis City last year. They actually finished the campaign 14th in expected goals. Over a goal and a half expected per game. They didn't necessarily capitalize to that rate, but it was more defensively bottom 10 in goals allowed, clean sheets. You couldn't have asked for a better preseason start for Yohan DeMay, the new head man at St. Louis City, along with his new sporting director, Corey Ray, the second sporting director in team history, but who does have a very impressive resume coming in. Former 2022 MLS Next Pro Executive of the Year with the Columbus Crew 2. And he has to be all smiles seeing Betcher, who has a lot of local ties to St. Louis, a former St. Louis Billiken in the college game, who scored 7 times over the last 2 seasons, get a goal here in the preseason opener. A lot of positive play from Hartel as well, sending it out wide. Betcher waiting for it amidst a couple of Austin defenders, instead sent back out to Jung. So St. Louis City doing something in the first 16 minutes they did not do across the full 90 in their meeting against Austin last year, and that is find the back of the net. Oh, more nice play from the St. Louis offensive half. Betcher the header right at Stuver. Here's some of the Stu chants from the traveling Austin fans, but can't be thrilled with his defending in front of him through the first near half of the opening 45. What a start for Betcher with a couple balls on target, including one that opened the scoring here. 1-0 to St. Louis as we near our first 20 minutes gone. Ball forward, Jung unable to get that first touch. Interested to see how Sungbin Jung performs now, the 23-year-old South Korean, now that he's gotten a full offseason in the program with the same club. He was a mid-year acquisition from Minnesota last year and struggled to insert any sort of offensive threat, just a goal in 9 starts. But a guy with tremendous pedigree going back to his days at Minnesota United, 79 appearances there. You look up and down the St. Louis City roster, especially you watch him out of the gates today. This one's banged off a Betcher into the crowd area. I mean, a lot of big names, a lot of scoring pedigree in the front line. It's really more the defense that you wonder about, and they've yet to be tested today. Ball just kept in play and then taken away. Irvin Torres, the 18-year-old, had his pocket picked by Chris Durkin, the vet, 12th year as a pro, 124 career games in MLS. Most of them with DC United, but now in his 3rd year with St. Louis City. They have had the upper hand so far. Had the team from St. Louis. Certainly happy to be here where it's a balmy 37 degrees back in St. Louis, and a big welcome to those of you watching in Missouri on Midwest Matrix, as well as the Austin FC fans watching this on austinfc.com. It's great to have MLS back in what is certainly a massive year just on and off the pitch when you think about the World Cup coming to the States, Canada and Mexico this summer, all the attention around the game, and a great opportunity for a couple of these Western Conference teams. Still a good job by Jaden Nelson trying to make his influence felt. But it only results in a deflection back to the keeper, Berkey. I mentioned opportunity. I mean, St. Louis SC not expected much out of them as far as the odds go and where the prognosticators have them. Only Sporting Kansas City have longer odds to win the Western Conference, but you could have said that about St. Louis City going back to their expansion season when they shocked everybody and took the Western Conference regular season crown. Meanwhile, Austin FC, they are, at least based on the odds, a decidedly mid-table club, which certainly reflects the 500 mark from a year ago. Tied for 10th best odds to win the West out of the 15 teams. But they have the benefit now of a little more cohesion with Nico Estevez in his second season as head coach, Rodolfo Borrell, and a couple of Spaniards able to come together, make their roster decisions. There is a lot of Spanish influence on this Austin FC squad. As we're set to cross the halfway mark of our opening 45, the Simon Betcher 16th minute goal. The reason St. Louis City has the 1-0 edge. St. Louis City have certainly had the better of the possession, the chances. As Timo Baumgartel plays it back. There's Betcher, that number 11, still fighting hard on the edge of the box. And it's sent out for yet another St. Louis City corner, of which they've had nearly a half dozen of them in our first 25 minutes. Betcher took a knock there on the end of that run, a little slow to get up. So here is Marcel Hartl, who's had an outstanding run, led the team 6 assists last year at St. Louis City, 30 career Bundesliga games under his belt. That's a pretty good ball in, taken high as it's grabbed by Stuver. A looping header, not really challenging the 6'3" keeper out of Cleveland State, former Viking. But at least from Hartl, he's been so consistent, at least picking out guys on those corners for a first touch. And that's 3 shots on target in the opening 25 minutes already for St. Louis City. Betcher, the goal scorer, playing it out wide, but one of the few mistakes St. Louis City have made in their attacking build-up. That one can't be controlled out there by Thomas Totland. Now, the big question still from a roster-building standpoint from St. Louis City, will they add another designated player, or will they go with 2 designated players for U22 contracts? They still have a decision to make there for Corey Ray, and that's what's fascinating here about the preseason. Certainly not the final versions of these rosters we'll see, but right now it's Hartl and Berkey who are the 2 designated players. Little ball fizzing across the box. Nobody on the other end of it. Nelson the closest to it. Austin FC recollect with John Gallagher. He had the 1 shot on target earlier. A heavy touch, and that's taken away. Jung leading the outlet, has his teammate Betcher to his left, but a good job in recovery to get the block out. We've seen a couple of those from Alexander Svatok, and you see how dangerous this opportunity potentially was after the giveaway, and Jung creating that himself. A good read, though, by Svatok, the 31-year-old Ukrainian. If that pass is completed, you have Betcher in on goal again for what could have been a first-half brace. Played all the way back for Dante Polvara, former Georgetown Hoya. Pleasantville, New York native. Here he is on the ball. Has to feel good being in the States, playing professionally for the first time. He'd played in the Scottish Premiership with Aberdeen the last 5 years. Set to make his MLS regular season debut in a couple weekends. There's a big deflection out. Gallagher getting that last off of St. Louis's Chris Durkin. Speaking of guys with lots of NCAA pedigree, John Gallagher, former star at Notre Dame, who also played at Aberdeen for a stretch, although very briefly, just on loan from Atlanta United back in 2020. Good job to get some open space here for Austin FC. That ball blocked out low and then released to Orozco. Baumgartel, that big presence, the 6'3" center back. Hard to miss him on the pitch doing defending for St. Louis City. But a little bit better here from Austin as far as they're pushing forward. And putting a little pressure on Roman Birki. 5th year, 17th season as a professional for Birki. Been with the club since the start for St. Louis City. Couple of relatively young franchises, though. St. Louis City only around since 2023 with their first campaign. Austin made their debut season in 2021. They'll hit from behind, and too much aggression there from Polvara. Bangs into the back of the 18-year-old Irvin Torres. It was the 2nd youngest player to debut for Austin in that club's short history as a 16-year-old 2 years ago. A couple of Torreses when all is said and done. Facundo coming in, the Uruguayan, just signed to a 4.5-year designated player contract, rounding out the designated players for Austin FC. Again, we don't expect to see Torres today if you're just joining us. Played back by Orozco to Baumgartel. You have that collection there as youth combined with veterans, an interesting mix for St. Louis City. It's worked out pretty well so far, though. Betcher sets up his teammate, and that will earn yet another corner. As Santos has had a really nice start here to his St. Louis City preseason career, getting the deflected ball in from his left foot. I'd have to think Santos to have a little more stability after he was traded midseason from Orlando City to Colorado last year. Just signed in the offseason by St. Louis City. And not surprising to see Corey Ray being a busy man over these last few months, new sporting director in St. Louis. As we approach the half-hour mark of this first half, 6th corner already. Good ball in, headed clear. Out past the edge of the box. Once again, Austin FC going with the angular CJ Faudre, who has hopes of being more of a goal-scoring threat, but he's cleared a couple of balls off corners, the 6'2" forward. Foul coming here on Austin. They whistle it on Danny Pereira. 30 minutes gone in our opening half. St. Louis City with a 16th minute strike after forcing a turnover on a high-line press. Simon Betcher put it away. St. Louis City have had the better of the opportunities, more possession out of the gates in search of a big turnaround season in 2026 after finishing near the bottom of the point standings, 13th out of 15 teams in the Western Conference. Deflection and then a collision here after that ball took an interesting carom and a man briefly down for Austin. Greg Dubkar, head official today, making sure he's all good. You saw Simon Betcher take a mini knock earlier for St. Louis, but was able to quickly walk that off and look all right. That was the forward in Faudre. Trying to limp it off. He's certainly been active along with Jaden Nelson. It's a really young front line Austin is starting today. The 21-year-old Faudre, Nelson 23. Here is Nelson as they seek him out on the long ball forward. What can the Canadian do with it? Nelson has Gallagher in support to his right. Slow start for Austin, but do have a lot of firepower with some of the newcomers they've brought in. Here, though, it's given away, and that has been the story of this first half. It's Betcher Behind the D, Betcher, easy save. As Brad Stuver forced him into a tight angle. That is the second or third time now that St. Louis City, after forcing turnovers deep in their own end, have been able to outlet it clear. Had one near breakaway from Jung, one there from Betcher. The goal came on a defensive dispossession and a turnover the other way. An easy catch for Roman Berkey. Have not had a whole lot of work for the 35-year-old Swiss international to do back there. Good news, though, for St. Louis City. That was the issue a season ago. Definitely switching up that back line. Henry Kessler had been a starting center back. He's now in Charlotte. One of 3 starters gone from last year. They did lose their top goal scorer, Joao Klaus, who's now with the LA Galaxy. Led the way with 10 goals. Oh, nice poke through. Can Hartle get to it? No. A good anticipation there from Guilherme Biro. Third-year player for Austin FC. He's in the final year of a 3-year deal. Team option for next season, but has been a very solid option in the back line for Austin. A goal-scoring threat as well. They scored 3 times each of the last 2 seasons. Austin FC, you would figure after that recent signing of Facundo Torres, they'd most likely be done with any of their offseason moves now that they have 3 designated players signed, as well as their 3 U22 contracts. Owen Wolf, who is not in the lineup today, who was their team offensive player of the year last year. That was the big extension. They signed him up through 2030 and gave him the U22 deal. Official says, play on. Through a little contact. So a couple of big pieces for Austin not out there today, and that's going to be the theme throughout this preseason slate. Won't see any of these teams at true 100% strength relative to their projected opening day starting 11s. Hartel just keeps that ball in play. A half chance and a good crack just fired over the top of the goal. Not the worst effort you'll see from Daniel Edelman. You know he wants to make an immediate impact. Anytime you're brought over, having been a relatively high-profile player in the league, you go to a new club, 5 years with New York Red Bulls, and not only that, but when you're the first official signing under your new sporting director, you want to make him look good, and that one almost fell perfectly to the 22-year-old from Warren Township, New Jersey. Said it stays a 1-0 lead for St. Louis City. Simon Betcher, the opener in the 16th minute. We're mentioning who is not here for Austin FC. You know, Edouard Leuven for St. Louis City. He was a big part of their club a season ago, and they really struggled without him on the pitch. This ball given away by Betcher. But at least the early reports here, if you're going off 35 minutes, very solid for this retooled back line of the 3 at the back for St. Louis. Especially when you consider it's one newcomer who was just on the ball there in Polvara, and then one youngster in Orozco who really hasn't played much at the top flight level, only appeared in 7 matches a season ago. Foul coming just in front of the touchline on the far side as City keeps possession. And at least for those youngsters at the back, a chance when you have a new staff, new sporting director, to really make an impact, and you can do that right away here when you get the 3 preseason opportunities at the Coachella Valley Invitational. Even though you figure guys like Kyle Hebert, who's available off the bench today, Falou Fall will be parts of that competition for the backline starting spots. Foul going here. I believe that was Nelson who clipped a piece of the St. Louis City player, and we'll get a stoppage as we near the 38-minute mark of our opening half. Durkin going down. And we do have the option today for the cooling break, so to speak. Have not had to use it so far in what is expected to be an 84-degree afternoon here in Indio, California, heart of the Coachella Valley. It has been a big-time stretch in the sports calendar in this part of the world. Just had the Amex Big PGA Golf Tournament here 2 weekends ago, and then we'll have Indian Wells, the major tennis event, coming up in about a month's time. With the MLS preseason action, 15 matches over the next 2 weekends. Then we'll have a third weekend this year of NWSL action. So you look at it between Indian Wells, Coachella Valley Invitational, the Amex, you're looking at a solid 6-week stretch over 2 months, all in about a 15-mile radius. Here's a Roscoe pressing up, gets the takeaway. Betcher on the edge of the box. Sends it back out. Edelman's big shot is blocked right away. Baumgartel able to keep possession for St. Louis City. Again, Edelman not afraid to have a go as it sets up to him on the far side. Taken away, though, nicely done by Biro, who's been a really solid defensive presence for Austin FC in this first half. Work hard on that far side, and eventually it's a foul going on Pereira, who's gotten dinged for a couple of those in this first half. There's a good look at Danny Pereira, former first overall pick, the first draft pick in Austin FC history, and he's back 6th year for this Austin club. First Venezuelan and South American to ever go first overall in the MLS draft. So we will get a cooling break of sorts here at the 40-minute mark. This is a pretty tame start, first 10-12 minutes, but after that, St. Louis City able to open it up, pressing with a high line. 16th minute goal from Simon Betcher. Austin's had a couple of half chances. John Gallagher was saved by Berkey. That was really the only shot on target, though, for Austin FC. And St. Louis City have controlled the play in this opening 45. Rafael Santos a part of that in his St. Louis City debut, but plays offside. Pereira still arguing his case with our head official, Greg Dupka. In mid-season form, you would expect that of Danny Pereira. So Brad Stuver will put the ball down, wearing that captain's armband for Austin. All-time leader, 183 appearances in all competitions. First head to it from Polvara. You can just feel the anticipation and the excitement, the energy from a lot of the guys making their debuts. We've had it from both sides today. Foul in the back here on Svatok. And Simon Betcher's taken a couple of shots in this first half. He went down earlier on a run toward the Austin goal. Here he gets stretched out by his new teammate, Daniel Edelman. Just great to take in all the sights and sounds of this venue. Back for the 5th time. Each team was here a season ago. Most of these MLS clubs are now making at least their 3rd trip back to the CVI in 2026. Those familiar sounds as well. Great to hear them. All the chirping down on the pitch. It's a great fan venue as well here. The sets of bleachers are only about 10 rows up, so you're right on the pitch. You see a lot of the fans standing right on the white fences here, and you're within 5-10 feet of these players, and they're close to that near touch line. So far, it's St. Louis City with the edge. The 16th minute Simon Betcher goal as we near halftime in our first match of the day. Orozco plays it back to his keeper, Berkey. Berkey and Timo Baumgartel knowing each other well. Never played with each other in the Bundesliga, but certainly against each other for a number of years. Baumgartel at Stuttgart for 6 years, a couple campaigns with Union Berlin. Oh, that's a really nice interplay. Just sent out of play by Gallagher to prevent what would have been a quick rush forward by St. Louis. You have to be impressed with what you've seen so far out of Polvara in his debut, Santos in his debut for St. Louis City, in addition to the mainstays, guys you were expecting like a Betcher. This ball cannot clear Svatok, but Hartel is able to play it out wide to Rafael Santos. Final push forward as we near halftime. Edelman, another solid start in his debut.
Before the end?
Durkin playing it out wide. Chance to get a ball into the box, a high looper. Oh, nice first touch. Good look in the box. It just skews wide of the mark, but what a brilliant take that was by Santos to get it on the right boot. On a ball that you figured there wouldn't be much in that, but Santos, such good control with his left. It's that right foot he's still working on strengthening. Didn't really get the full catch of that shot attempt. That does, in a nutshell, describe how that first half is played for St. Louis City. They have had the better of the chances, most of the ball, only giving up one tame shot on their own target. As we go into first half stoppage time, it is City with the 1-0 cushion. Young losing possession out on that far touchline. We expect the whistle to come just about any moment here as we play a minute into first half stoppage time. And the fascinating part of this as we go into the second half for all these preseason tilts, who will be the first guys off the bench? We'll find out in about 15 minutes or so as we've reached halftime. A positive start for St. Louis City as they go into 2026 embracing an underdog mentality. They get Simon Betcher off the mark, 16th minute goal, and lead it 1-0 after 45 minutes from Indio, California. First match of the 2026 Coachella Valley Invitational. We'll come back for more at the break. After this, it's St. Louis City 1, Austin FC 0. Halftime here at the Empire Polo Club in Indio, California. Our first match of 15 MLS preseason affairs over the next 2 weekends, part of the 2026 Coachella Valley Invitational. St. Louis City, they have the honor of scoring the first goal in the 2026 version of this event. 16th minute strike from Simon Betcher off of a high line press and a takeaway. St. Louis City, a team who struggled, just 13th place out of 15th in the Western Conference last year. But Betcher, the third-year pro for St. Louis City, with the goal. We expect to see a whole lot of substitutions and each manager going deep into his bench today. We'll see a little bit more about that when we get into the second half. As of now, though, St. Louis City with a bunch of debutantes, 13 newcomers. We've seen 3 of them in the starting 11 already in this first half, between Daniel Edelman, Dante Polvara, and Rafael Santos, all showing out extremely well for the first-year head coach, Yoann Demey, who has to be pleased with his St. Louis City side's performance in half number 1. We'll come back, talk about the schedule for the rest of the day on the other side as you're watching the 2026 Coachella Valley Invitational. We welcome you back. Halftime of match number 1, 2026 Coachella Valley Invitational. This kicks off 15 MLS matches over the next 2 weekends. We'll also have a third weekend of NWSL coverage. All matches streaming through the MLS's YouTube channels, and each individual team streaming them as well. We're underway. St. Louis City, a 1-0 lead at the break. Simon Betcher, a 16th minute goal. And in just a few minutes over on field number 2, which is right behind us here, San Jose and Charlotte get their preseason campaigns from the CVI started with the noon local time kickoff. We'll still have one more match to come here on field number 1. Minnesota United, who were the big story around the league yesterday with the signing of James Rodriguez, taking on Sporting Kansas City. Excited for that one still to come on this field. Portland Timbers and DC United, they wrap up the day 2:30 Pacific as well. And then we'll have a doubleheader tomorrow before the Super Bowl. You can start your day with Galaxy, Chicago Fire, 10 a.m. locally, LAFC and NYCFC at noon. All these teams will then be back on Wednesday in the midweek before wrapping things up on Valentine's Day a week from today. So far, though, it's been St. Louis City off to an impressive start. Simon Betcher, the 16th minute goal, and it is City 1, Austin FC 0. We'll get you set for second half action when we return as you're watching our coverage of the 2026 Coachella Valley Invitational. A beautiful look at the grounds here at the Empire Polo Club as we cross the noon hour in Indio, California. This is the first day of the 2026 Coachella Valley Invitational. As we take a look at our first half highlights, off to a fun start here. St. Louis City with the opener, and it was Simon Betcher with the opening goal. Even though Austin FC did have a couple of half chances, this was their one shot on target coming from John Gallagher, set up by Jaden Nelson, just acquired in the offseason. Here's how the goal was set up, though. That high pressing line from St. Louis City. They forced the takeaway, able to set up Simon Betcher, who puts it past the diving Brad Stuver. And St. Louis City would ride that to a 1-0 halftime edge. Really impressive stuff from the St. Louis City offensive attack. They controlled the possession. They had about a half dozen corners. And we're ready to go to start half number 2. This is the fun part of this Coachella Valley Invitational as well. Once we get a double-barreled action, so to speak, we have another match that is about to kick off about the way. So we'll step aside. We have our second half coming up right after this. We welcome you back. This is field number 1 at the Empire Polo Club in Indio, California. Second half action about to get underway. St. Louis City up 1-0 at the break. As we start half number 2, I'm Ben Wilson back with you. Thanks so much wherever you're watching us from. Midwest Matrix back in St. Louis, AustinFC.com, the MLS app, YouTube stream. We've got you covered for the next 2 weekends. First of 15 MLS matches. This is the good stuff right now. We've got another match going on about 25 feet away behind us. There are 2 fields set up here at the Empire Polo Club, and this is the opener. St. Louis City, a 16th minute goal from Simon Betcher to open the scoring, and we've seen a couple of halftime changes here for Austin FC. Ilie Sanchez is in, along with Nico Dubersarski. A couple of players expected to have big roles this season for Austin FC, so they are brought in off the bench. Brendan Hines Ike playing it back. Another sub as well. Mateja Djordjevic is in for Austin FC. Not much going for the green and black in that first half. Of course, wearing the white uniforms today, trying to stay cool in that 80-degree Indio, California sun right at high noon. While St. Louis SC, they dominated the possession in the first half. Thomas Totland trying to center, but that one sent out. The first touch for Ilie Sanchez comes here, a defensive clearance. They had Hartel charging toward the ball. Meanwhile, St. Louis SC pretty well intact after that strong first half. St. Louis City about a half dozen corners. They use the defensive high line to press, force a turnover, and the goal from Betcher in the 16th minute. Interesting to, and not surprising to see Austin with the bulk of the subs here at halftime. We expect in these preseason sort of setups. We'll get a heavy usage of the bench. Oh, that was a, excuse me, shot off of his teammate's leg and back to the face of Ilie Sanchez, who has been on the pitch less than 3 minutes. And that one will leave a mark. Now we get a, well, there was a knock there as well. We get our first yellow card given out by Greg Dupka and sends Simon Betcher into the book. So Betcher getting a talking to. He was very active, extremely involved from the opening whistle in that first half. So we talk about some of the newcomers. Sanchez, who looks to be all right. He was on a 1 year last year, brought back for another season, the 35-year-old from Barcelona. He goes way back with the sporting director, Adolfo Borrell, who's only 20 years his senior, 55-year-old from Barcelona, former 7-year assistant at Man City under Pep Guardiola. And Sanchez, who started in the FC Barcelona system, played 5 years on the reserve team before making the move. And part of those 5 years were in the second division in Spain, eventually moving to MLS in 2017 with Sporting Kansas City. Chipped forward, that's a really nice touch. But a whistle coming, and it's knocked out of play, out for a corner. I guess that's the thing we have to remind ourselves. Whistles that come could also be from the other field. So there was nothing wrong with that buildup, and a great job that's resulted in a corner. Joseph Rosales just brought over from Minnesota United in a trade for $1.5 million general allocation money dollars. Rosales, the 25-year-old from Honduras, 8th-year pro, set to take the outswinger. He took the only other corner of the first half for Austin FC. A good low ball, dangerous area, header over the top. It is out for a goal kick. No touch. Guilherme Biro with the touch. A great look from behind the netting here. Great job by our whole production team on hand all couple of weekends. The angle wasn't quite there, but pretty good amount of venom on that header from Biro, the Curitiba, Brazil native. And a foul going on St. Louis. So that man who just drew the foul, Jaden Nelson, a really bright spot for Austin FC in what was a otherwise quiet opening 45. Austin FC playing it back all the way to the keeper. And the veteran Brad Stuver. And the surprising part about that first half, just compared to last year, was how good Austin's back line was in 2025, but they were a little shaky at the back at times in that first half. St. Louis City putting more pressure on them here. And it does result in a takeaway. Orozco setting up the newcomer. It's a good ball. Jung in the box. Jung with a great save. Brad Stuver in mid-season form already. That was a great opportunity for Jung, and look at Stuver extend the left foot to come up big. Edelman and Orozco started that play, but Stuver, who was second in the MLS last year, 128 saves, a 2025 MLS All-Star, and named Team Defensive Player of the Year for the third time in his 5 seasons in Austin. Immediately called into service in the 52nd minute with St. Louis City already up 1-0. Hartel to take it. One halftime sub for St. Louis City. Celio Pompeo is in off the bench, that number 12 shirt. Header sent out of the box by Austin. And Mateja Djordjevic, 23-year-old Serbian who's in his second season. Only started 4 matches last year for Austin. But Djordjevic has a good opportunity to grow in his playing time in season number 2. Another press forward by Jung. That ball tracked the whole way, shepherded by Gallagher to his keeper in Brad Stuver. You walk around the grounds here, a ton of Sangbin Jung 77 jerseys in St. Louis City colors. Huge South Korean international following, 8 career goals in 79 MLS appearances. And he nearly got off the mark in the preseason. Instead, it stays 1-0 to St. Louis City. So just the 1 halftime sub for St. Louis, 3, as we mentioned, for Austin FC. Plenty more expected still to come with a goal kick for Roman Bürki. A question for Bürki this year. He is one of the designated players. 3 of them are allowed for St. Louis. If you want to go that way, you can either do 3 and 3, 3 designated players, 3 U22 guys, or you could go just 2 designated players, 4 U22 guys, and get an extra $2 million in general allocation money. St. Louis City still with a decision to make. Do they want to go with a 3rd designated player? And while Bürki is a designated player for 2026, remains to be seen in 2027. That's a big storyline in St. Louis. His status up in the air for next season. Of course, we should probably start this season before we start talking about next. But for a guy who is the biggest name to have played for St. Louis City after his 7 years at Borussia Dortmund in the Bundesliga, that is a big storyline. Here's a great ball forward. Betcher behind the defense, and another solid save by Brad Stuver, denying Brecher what would have been a brace. And again, Betcher behind the D. He has had a couple of outstanding opportunities. Betcher only to be matched by Stuver. And this could easily be 3-0 St. Louis City less than 10 minutes into the second half here. Instead, it stays 1-0. With City continuing to push for more. Great ball. Could not pick out Betcher. Coming in from Totland, who's had a solid day, pushing up from the right back position. And Bürki all the way up to the halfway line to play this. Thomas Totland, 11th year pro from Norway. A couple seasons in the Swedish top flight. Timo Baumgartel sends a hopeful ball forward. There's Jung again, battling hard on the edge of the box with Rosales. St. Louis City just been a step quicker on a lot of those 50-50 balls. And that general German influence of high line pressing. Borussia Dortmund known for that, especially when Roman Bürki was there under Jurgen Klopp and then Thomas Tuchel. Gegenpressing, as Klopp made famous in the Bundesliga. You do see some of that here for St. Louis City. It might not be all out, even though they moved on from their German sporting director Lutz Pfannenstiel, was let go midway through last year, along with the coach and Olaf Melberg. They play it back. More chasing comes from the top line, and that forced kind of an awkward play out by Stuver as Marcel Hartel, the Cologne, Germany native, was on his horse. City come forward once more. Big deflection over the top of the goal as Austin FC defense really being tested. It's a St. Louis City corner coming up. And Hartel set to take it. 11 years he spent in Germany and was a great story. He rose from the 4th division where he played with FC Cologne's reserve side, then to the Bundesliga 2 for 6 seasons, and then broke through Arminia Bielefeld and FC Cologne. 30 games played between those 3 clubs over 3 seasons. Here he goes with an in-swinging ball. Out to punches Stuver. Edge of the box. Jung controls. Playing it out wide. Low ball in. That's chested away first by Austin. And a long shot takes a massive deflection by CJ Faudre all the way out towards the touchline. And the throw won by Austin with Rosales. As we near the hour mark, interested to see here, will Austin FC, you assume more substitutions coming, will they be able to get a foot in this match at all? It's only 1-0, but it feels more like almost like a 2.5 to 0 type of match, the way St. Louis City has dominated possession. Playing with some urgency that you generally expect to see with a new head coach, new sporting director. Always high expectations for a fan base that has sold out every match at the Energizer Park. And big news this week, Energizer Park selected to host the 2028 Olympic soccer competition. Really big deal for the folks in St. Louis and that brand new stadium that has filled the capacity every time. Well, here's a pretty good ball for Austin. It's the newcomer Polvara shouldering off the run by Austin CJ Faudre. Still only one shot on target that Roman Berkey has had to deal with so far as we near 60 minutes played from the Coachella Valley in this 2026 CVI. Foul coming on St. Louis with an Austin player down, and we'll get a brief stoppage. And referee Greg Dupka over there making sure everybody's all good. And that is Djordjevic. Just came on as a sub at halftime, a 23-year-old Serb who had spent 5 years there in the top division of Serbia, now in his 2nd season with Austin FC. You see the St. Louis City reserves down there behind Brad Stuver of Austin FC getting their warm-ups in. As the clock ticks to 60 minutes gone, it's a 1-0 lead for St. Louis City. That 16th minute goal from Simon Betcher, the difference so far. And City have had a couple great opportunities to add on in the second half, only to be denied by one of the best keepers in MLS in Brad Stuver. Throw incoming St. Louis's way. It's been tough sledding for Austin really to build anything out of the back and get consistent play. The only balls that have generated much offense have been deep balls forward to Jaden Nelson, that number 7 in white and green. High ball headed back to Brendan Hines-Ike. 103 career MLS appearances. We'll send it all the way back to his keeper in Stuver. And more attempted interplay passing, not quite on the same page. Rosales and Torres unable to link up. Did take a St. Louis touch. As we see a bevy of subs, 5 newcomers in for Austin FC, 2 for St. Louis. That will spell the end of the line for Jaden Nelson, solid in his preseason debut, brought over from Vancouver in the offseason. He will exit. We'll get you caught up to speed on the subs as quickly as we're able to. 5 of them for Austin, 2 for St. Louis, starting with Conrad Valem, who is in off the bench.
I was making sure. You want any? No, I'm good. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Back for his second season, just made his loan transfer permanent in the offseason after being on loan from Slavia Prague in the Czech League. Also, it's our first look at Brendan McSorley, second year back for St. Louis City on the reserve club. The last 2 years, made his MLS debut, 2 goals and an assist in 8 appearances. That number 80 for St. Louis City. So those are the 2 new subs there. Meanwhile, Jan Kolmanich, who's on the ball right now, he's one of the 5 subs in for Austin FC. We'll get you caught up on all those subs as the ball sent in toward the area, picked off, and a chance to run the other way for St. Louis City. And McSorley immediately onto the ball. He and Valem, who have just checked in. John Bell has also made his way onto the pitch for Austin. And there he is, that number 15. Free agent signing brought over from MLS Seattle. And the Sounders on a 3-year deal for Austin this year, with a whistle coming and a free kick for St. Louis. Hartel, the primary free kick taker, set to whip this one in. A pretty dangerous spot for St. Louis, just outside the box as we near the 65-minute mark. Hartel to take. Good ball in. Header is sent up and over the bar. It was a deflection by St. Louis off of the head of John Bell, who is called into service right away, making his Austin FC debut. A pretty solid delivery. Bell was there first with the crashing Betcher. As we continue to sift through all the Austin subs. Again, 5 of them overall. It's the first time we will see in this match one of the second team players, Jorge Alastue, number 24 for Austin, brought into an attacking position. He's featured with Austin's second team, and there he is on the ball. He disagrees with that foul call. He thought he'd won the ball away from Chris Durkin. Not to be for Alastue. Definitely, at the very least, some inflection of life and energy into an Austin FC squad that had not had a ton of it through the first hour of this match. Down 1-0, could easily be 2 or 3, though, to St. Louis. Baumgartel, Orozco, and St. Louis City tempted and content to play out the back. Jan Kolmanich was on loan a couple years ago from Maribor in the Slovenian League, full-time with Austin for the last 3 seasons now, if you include 2026. Riley Thomas, defensively one of the other subs for Austin FC. He's in, was helping the Verde and Black play out of the back, but another takeaway. And it's been a strong debut for Polvara, who's tackled in midfield. He had another tackle going on the youngster in Alastue, called up from the second team. Final sum to point out for Austin FC, Robert Taylor, acquired midseason last year from Inter Miami, scored 1 time in 17 matches. He's in on the left wing right now. Alistue instead goes back toward the right on the overlapping run. Fodre waits for a couple teammates to queue up, and few opportunities for Austin FC to push forward, and they're content to play the ball back with everybody in front of them. Chipped in, Alistue. Fodre right there. It takes a slight touch and comes straight over the bar, out for a St. Louis goal kick. That's at least a little better from Austin, getting some movement forward. Solid ball chipped in, and trying to go back heel there from Alistue. Looking, if he'd been able to convert, would have certainly been an early candidate for preseason goal of the year. But not to be, and it stays 1-0, just over 20 minutes left. Match number 1 in the Coachella Valley Invitational. Minnesota United Sporting Kansas City to follow us on this field at 1:30 locally. In the heat of the day as we near 85 degrees here in the Coachella Valley. Austin down the goal, pressing forward with that infusion of youth into the match. So far, St. Louis has held firm, backing up Simon Betcher's goal in the first half. Bell able to thump this one past the halfway line. Good battle between Baumgartel and Fodre, with the officials letting him play on. Fodre, the youngster, just 21, playing in his home state today from San Jose, California, up in the Bay Area. I played his college ball not far away at San Diego State, about 2 hours away. Austin's round 1 pick in 2021, as Roman Berkey sort of invited him to charge towards his own ball after the goal kick opportunity, only to send it clear. Betcher looking to play his teammate forward again. And it results in a St. Louis City throw. That's Pompeo over there, 5th-year pro, one of 5 players from the inaugural 2023 season still on the roster. The Brazilian tied for 3rd in team history with 71 career games played, the number 12 for St. Louis City. Oh, it's a near giveaway. Sloppy from Birkey. Baumgartel had to come out and bail him out. It's an advantage played forward for St. Louis City. A good ball. The header from Betcher. Unable to put that on target. Really out of nothing, though. A strong low cross from Pompeo. Got his start with St. Louis City 2 back in 2022, which that team launching a year before St. Louis City's parent club, top club at the MLS level. Now Pompeo, a mainstay. Now you can see why with balls like that. Officially 70 minutes gone here in the Coachella Valley. 1-0 still to St. Louis City. Couple of brilliant saves, though, in the second half from Brad Stuver, the captain for Austin. And if Austin FC is able to come back and draw level, we'll point to as crucial parts of the match. Played back by Kolmanich, but eventually taken away by St. Louis City. Content to protect the 1 goalie. They also have what looks to be about at least 5 subs ready to come in at the next whistle. This is preseason after all. Subs basically unlimited. Well, that took an awkward deflection. Wasn't meant to be, and a chance to set up for Austin. Robert Taylor sending it out wide, just tracked in and kept alive. It's a turn again for Taylor. St. Louis City, a maligned defensive bunch from last year that were 7th worst in the MLS in goals allowed. They were, in 2025, 6th worst non-penalty expected goals allowed. If you just remove penalties from open play, St. Louis City struggled mightily with their back line, but they've done a really good job to prevent on any of these Austin second half pushes forward from getting dangerous looks into the box. So the whistle comes, and here come our substitutions. 5 of them for St. Louis City.
I lost track of who else came
Zach
in.
Lillington coming onto the pitch out of Fairfax, California, in his home state. As is Josh Yarrow, the native of Ghana. He is checked in. A lot of youngsters now coming in for St. Louis City. Get to the rest of them in a moment. Makai Joyner, speaking of youngsters, 19-year-old from Bloomington, Illinois. Top goal scorer last 2 years for St. Louis City, 2. He is that number 59 in the pink shirt, who's now on. So now that a lot of the main starting 11 players are out, anybody's guess from this point. A lot of youngsters, players fighting for end of roster spots. Here's Faudre. Cross over the top of Alastue, the Austin FC 2 player called up for today's match. That's Cedric Teuchert, 2 of the subs who've come in. He's one of the guys expected to play a focal role for St. Louis City. A Coburg, Germany native and longtime Bundesliga veteran. It's offside, going back to St. Louis City as we near 3/4 hours played. Miguel Perez, the final of the 5 St. Louis City subs. He's in his second stint back. He's bounced back and forth between St. Louis City 2 and the parent club. Was exclusively a second-team player last year, but did score 10 goals with 3 assists. The St. Louis native, Miguel Perez, at number 28 in pink. Oh, Berkey playing it out of his back, right to Josh Yarrow. Berkey with all that experience. He always looks so cool and calm under pressure, but here his back line gives it away. Faudre playing it up. Alastue blocked by Yarrow, the Ghanaian, making the first crucial touch in defense for St. Louis City as they look to release pressure and ultimately get the foul going their way as Ilie Sanchez is whistled. Good run by Teuchert down the far touchline. Teuchert mostly a starter last year when he played. 22 appearances, 17 starts, and 3 goals. And a foul in the back. Alastue has been awfully aggressive and whistled for a few of those in his short time on the pitch in the second half. Likely a couple more subs still to come from Austin FC. See a couple on that far side toward the bench areas getting ready to come in. First we'll have the free kick, though, from St. Louis City, nursing a 1-0 edge as we go into the final 15. If you're a St. Louis City FC fan, have to be so happy with how your team has showed out in preseason match number 1 under a new head coach, new sporting director. It's been all positive so far. This ball headed down right to Stuver, who comfortably grabs. McSorley getting right in Stuver's grill. McSorley, the 24-year-old former Friar of Providence College. This is always, though, the unknown stretch of these sorts of preseason matches. You get those guys' numbers way up high, 59, 80. Although McSorley is a guy who featured in the first team last year. Here will be the couple subs for Austin FC. They get both of them onto the pitch.
Boys, let's go. 3-1.
If you were wondering for today, no Facundo Torres for Austin FC, who was the latest designated player signing. Vlad Danshutsu, number 25, who's just checked in. He is another one of the Austin FC 2 players as McSorley goes down. Well, you saw him jawing a couple minutes ago, and he certainly took a knock behind the play. Djordjevic and John Bell over there. There were some appeals for penalty from the St. Louis fans who've traveled. There's Danshutsu, second team player. And a foul going against Austin FC and Dubersarski, who they have said has had a great preseason, likely to begin the year as more of a midfield sub like he was today, but certainly has a chance to win that starting position eventually. And a free kick coming for St. Louis City. Celio Pompeo. City today with the strategy of putting some of the newcomers, fresh faces into the starting 11, and then bringing in a couple seasoned vets off the bench like a Pompeo and a Toyshirt, whereas Austin FC was more of traditional starting 11, close to what we expect to see in the regular season, then bringing a whole bunch of academy guys on into this second half. 2 from the Austin FC 2 squad and several others who have been backup reserve types in the club. Along with some newcomers like John Bell, who certainly will be in the mix in the back line. Not been many chances to press forward, though, no matter what combination of guys have been out there. Let's see what Robert Taylor can do. Plays it off to his left. Low ball in. Taylor toward the 6, and it's blocked out for a corner. Valum got in there to make the stop. Now, Robert Taylor, who has played alongside Lionel Messi, is part of Inter Miami, and now they overturn the call, actually say goal kick, so no corner coming for Austin FC, but Taylor is a guy who will be in his first full season with Austin, and you have to assume, given his pedigree, playing alongside the Messis of the world, having success at Inter Miami, he could certainly provide a boost of life offensively for an Austin team that had its struggles finding the back of the net last year, and it has certainly been another issue in today's match. Not to overreact, it's just the start of preseason after all here at the Coachella Valley Invitational, but just something to keep an eye on for Austin.
Yeah, I just kind of flicked it back.
Only 2 weeks out from the regular season opener with Austin hosting Minnesota and St. Louis City at home against Charlotte. Taken away. Here's Taylor again. Thought about a deep shot. Instead, plays it off. Back to Taylor. Finds a teammate, and they get a cross in. Dubersarski playing it back. Along with Austin's final sub, all in that mix. Unable to get a cross in and then give up a foul. As Baumgartel go, actually that was not Baumgartel, Toyshirt goes down. The other sub, Mo Badawia, make it 3 players from Austin FC 2 who will likely finish this match on the pitch. As we're into the 82nd minute, still 1-0 St. Louis City. That early goal in the 16th minute from the number 11, Simon Betcher, holding up. Birkey seeking out McSorley after a deflection. Comes to the 24-year-old from Randolph, New Jersey, and played out to Toyshirts. The way this match has gone, a second goal surely seals it for St. Louis City. so determined to reverse their fortunes after back-to-back seasons of missing the postseason and finishing each of the last 2 seasons on interim head coaches. A foul. This is right on the edge of the box, away from the play, and a yellow card coming, our second of the match. A free kick set to come in a very dangerous area for St. Louis. As Sanchez will go into the box here, go into the book, I should say, with the yellow. He was hit hard early in the second half. A yellow was given to his opposing defender and Simon Betcher, who knocked over Sanchez, but here he returns the favor, and it's a chance for McSorley and Makai Joyner to set up on this ball. McSorley, Joyner, the 19-year-old, third year with this club, as well as Pompeo, the vet. It looks like Pompeo set to take. 83rd minute, 1-0 St. Louis City. A goal pretty much puts this one to bed. But Brad Stuver has been hard to get past. 2 brilliant saves alone in the second 45. They queue up at the box. Pompeo to take. Good ball in, but headed way over the top. Contacted by the defender Kyle Hebert, who has also come on late as a sub. That was more of a ball meeting head as opposed to head meeting ball. Hebert unable to get it squared away, but you expect to see the Winnipeg, Manitoba native in there a bunch for St. Louis City this year. A returner on the starting back line from 2025. With all those subs that you generally see in these preseason sort of tilts, figure to see these remaining 22 guys out here the rest of the way. Can Austin FC find any sort of life going forward? Just one shot on goal in the match. And off the back pass, Birke chips it out. A slightly strong touch, but it's played out and released. Conrad Valem, after a solid delivery from Zach Lillington, looks to move things forward for St. Louis City. With just over 5 to play in regular time. There's Joyner. Again out to Valem. First full season after making his loan spell a permanent transfer. These are the sorts of matches St. Louis City they struggled to hold on to last year, even when they had leads. 6th most expected goals allowed from open play. They've had the majority of the possession most of the way. Toyshirt's ball is intercepted and appeals for a foul, none given. A frustrating second half here for Jorge Alastue. He thought he should have had the foul, instead it's the other way. Valem a little too much on that pass, though, for Joyner. And St. Louis concede the goal kick with under 5 minutes to go, and what's been a fun way to start year number 5 of the Coachella Valley Invitational. This event has really exploded, come onto the scene. You have almost half of the MLS clubs now making the trip out here. First of 15 matches today.
Robert, hold on.
Meanwhile, San Jose and Charlotte underway on the other field. 1-0 lead to the San Jose side just before halftime there. It's the beauty of this event. If you're a fan, you can come watch both matches at the same time, go back and forth between fields. They're about a 25-yard walk from each other. This one, our first of 2 on this field number 1. Sporting Kansas City and Minnesota United to follow us with a kickoff at 1:30 local time on this beautiful Saturday afternoon. Temps expected to reach about 84. Birke playing it to the side, and Yarrow from Ghana. Yarrow, a first-year player, for St. Louis City.
Come on.
You can just tell St. Louis looking to have more confidence, command playing out of the back.
Get up. No foul.
And even when they do get dispossessed, preventing immediate pushes forward the other way. And you can see some frustration there from Austin and the lack of opportunity from Jan Kolmanich to press forward.
Come on, Austin.
Another hopeful ball that comes to nothing.
Higher, Makai! Higher!
2 minutes, come on! Run out of time, Austin, come on!
But for Birkey and St. Louis City, as this ball is taken away, a beautiful little spin there on the far touchline to create some space by Badawia, making an impression as an Austin FC 2 player, and that ultimately results in a free kick coming. Not too far outside the right corner of the box. Could this be the best opportunity for Austin here as we go into the 89th minute? For St. Louis City, this was the sort of performance you wanted, even in a preseason game that does not count for the regular season standings, to show that you have better defensive mettle, ability to finish in the final third, things that abandoned them at times last season. All now with a new coach, new sporting director, all that. St. Louis City have checked off a lot of those boxes, still with a couple more minutes, though, to see out. And a great opportunity here for Austin FC. 3 players on the reserve team attempting to create some magic. Here comes the free kick. It is going for goal and wide of the mark. Berkey read that the whole way. It's not put on target, and that means Austin continue for the match to just have the single shot on target there. Kolmanich, who did score once last year, 97 career appearances for Austin, going for that far post. And some more high pressing from Austin FC, released by St. Louis as they get it out. Toy shirt into the Austin half. Good ball forward. Chance to cue into the box. They set up. Good look. McSorley blocked. Good job in defending by Djordjevic of Austin. Thought for a moment that might fall for McSorley after he was set up really well by his teammate. And Cooper Forcellini, the last sub in for St. Louis. Forcellini, that number 26 shirt in the pink, setting him up, and now we get a stoppage, a man down for Austin FC as we'll cross into injury time with this one about over. And that is the youngster Vlad Danshutsu, the reserve player for Austin FC on AFC 2. Certainly the biggest goal for these coaches, sporting directors, it's just avoid injury anytime you're talking a preseason tilt, and we've been in pretty good shape from that regard today. But Danshutsu will be helped up. Go into the stoppage time. The way this match started and how St. Louis City created an early goal off a great opportunity. Simon Betcher in the 16th minute. You might have thought more goals still to come, but it's not been the case today. St. Louis City awfully pleased, though, with this performance for a team who struggled so much defensively last year. They look to see this one out and continue their unbeaten run here at the Coachella Valley Invitational. Had a win and a pair of draws last season, but did not have a clean sheet in any of those, did St. Louis. looks like Danshutsu okay, good to go as he's helped toward the touchline. And off we go. We're into the 2nd minute of injury time. St. Louis with a 1-0 lead over Austin. Simon Betcher's 16th minute goal still the difference. That's a poor giveaway though in midfield, only to watch as it's taken right back by Joyner. At least to help out, release a little bit of that pressure. Force it all the way back to Brad Stuver, who's been brilliant in this match for Austin, but that ball is lost, a heavy touch out of the back by Riley Thomas, and then a foul committed. So St. Louis City able to not only bleed more time into injury time, take the air out of this match, but also can have a go at goal if they so choose. You wonder if this is the final opportunity for either team in this CVI opener. Pompeo had a good free kick from the right side. Now we'll take it from the left. Pompeo off the wall and out of play for a corner. Nothing bad about that, though, for St. Louis as they're able to take more time off into our 4th minute of injury time. Greg Dupka, a check of the watch. St. Louis City taking it short. And taken away. Is there one more chance in this for Austin to push forward and search out an equalizer? Well, foul taken to prevent play, but that's all it will be. Final whistle blows as St. Louis City gets its 2026 preseason campaign off to a solid start with a 1-0 win thanks to Simon Betcher's 16th minute goal. Austin FC, despite a couple of half chances in the second half, unable to put a shot on target on Roman Berkey, as this opener of the 2026 Coachella Valley Invitational comes to an end. I'm Ben Wilson saying so long for now. Again, our final, it's St. Louis City 1 and Austin FC 0. We thank you for watching this presentation of the 2026 Coachella Valley Invitational right here from the Empire Polo Club in Indio.